Welcome to the More Perfect Union, the podcast that offers real debate without the hate. I'm Kevin Kelton, back here for 2023, our first podcast of the new year. And with me, as always, Greg Matusak.
Hi, Kevin. Happy New Year. It's the year of the rabbit, I'm told, or the year of the missing speaker in some religions or some countries. Whichever. I'm good either way. Should be a fun year, at least.
The rabbit or going down the rabbit hole?
That's even better. Well done, you.
Joe Syart is still here?
Yes, I am. And my New Year's resolution is to stop all the pollution. I talk way too much. Got my mic, got my pen. Greg, don't kill my vibe.
And I can say with all sincerity, I didn't understand a thing you just said.
I cleaned up the language a lot.
Joining us tonight, by the way, I got an email from a listener who said, you guys, you have a great podcast, but you never say your names. You got to say your full names at the beginning of the show. I wrote it back. I said, thank you for that. I say it every week. And I know that because it's my job to say the name. But we have a guest tonight that I've been trying to get on for a long time. He's a friend of mine from Open Fire Politics, the Facebook group that you've heard us talk about before. He's also an attorney in Texas, lives not far from me. I think you're up in the Dallas area, right? It's John M. Frick. John Frick is here.
Yes, I'm John Frick, and my TCU Horned Frogs are playing for the college football championship. Go Frogs.
Go Frogs. And like I said, I'm actually quite excited to have John on. John, you've been involved in politics for most of your adult life, I think, right?
Certainly. When I was an undergrad at SMU, I was a poli-sci major, and one of the summer courses that I was able to take was a course where we went to the Republican National Convention in 1984, which was held in Dallas, and we got to attend all of the events, and I got to have a very long conversation with Vice President George Bush, the first one.
Wow.
Back then, and I've been interested in politics ever since.
Right. You've been a county delegate, state delegate. What else?
In a senatorial district. It's kind of between county and state.
And how long have you lived in Texas?
My whole life. I was born at Baylor Hospital in Dallas, and that's where I'll die.
Well, we're, like I said, really happy to have you with us tonight, especially since we're going to be talking about mostly politics tonight, the ongoing drama as it's happening in the House of Representatives. As we go to, tape the podcast tonight, they've already had 6 votes. Kevin McCarthy has not yet achieved his life goal of becoming Speaker of the House. Greg, I'll throw to you first. Do you think that Mr. McCarthy is going to be able to pull this out of a hat, or do you think he's going down a rabbit hole?
So I think eventually he will get it, but there's a group of representatives who do not want him to get it. Not because they are, I don't believe that they are actually opposed to him for whatever political reasons, but for a much bigger picture. For the simple reason that it's easier to run against someone and to run against something than to actually legislate. And I love to say, like, this is where I like to say all GOP and all Republicans, but it's not. It's these 10%. These 20 Republicans who don't even have legislative aides. They have media aides. They have more media aides than legislative aides. They would much rather run on, look how bad these people are running. They would love to have Jeffries as their Speaker of the House because they could run for the next 2 years on, look how bad things are, and they could just run sound bites than that. But I think it will eventually go to Kevin McCarthy after they put up a fight and they can run ads about how they fought the good fight.
Okay. And John, what do you think? I'm going to guess you don't share Greg's opinion on that, but I don't know. I'm just guessing.
I think that there are some individuals that are opposed to Kevin McCarthy for deeply personal reasons. They deeply dislike him and distrust him as a human being and they're not going to change their minds. But there are others who voted against him, including my congressman, Keith Selth, who just got elected for ideological reasons, primarily concerning the past history that I would say began in 1994 and became much worse in the last decade or so, of centralizing power in the speaker's office and not allowing individual legislators to have much, if any, say over any legislation that comes through the House.
So let me ask you now, John, you're a Republican. I think I would consider you a middle of the road to moderate Republican. I don't think you're a Trump right-wing Republican. Correct me, by the way, if you think I'm mistaken.
I would think I'm more mainstream, yeah.
So do you have an affinity for Kevin McCarthy as a politician? Does it matter to you as a Republican if he's the speaker or someone else is the speaker?
Absolutely not. He is not a charismatic individual. He is not an individual that is a leader that you would want to follow in the way that a Ronald Reagan was. Not even someone that you admire their intellect and their ability to get things done like a Newt Gingrich. He's part of the establishment. And as a piece of the establishment, he could easily be replaced.
Yeah, but he is like Destiny's Child. He is a survivor. And that is what makes him good at what he do. He survives. I mean, right after January 6th, he was like, oh, Donald Trump has to go. He's the worst. 4 days later or 10 days later, he's at Mar-a-Lago kissing the ring because he sees the writing on the wall. And that is something that either I hate about him or I respect, because he does what he thinks is best for the party. And you're right. He is not a charismatic person, but neither is McConnell. And he's not a leader, but neither was Reid for the Democrats.
Well, I'm not going to debate people that are.
Do you have a crush on him? I mean, is this where
who are no longer in the Senate or the Congress? I'm not going to debate about them, but I guess I'm seeing this a little differently than both of you because, look, everybody knows if you've listened to this podcast, I'm more Democrat than anything else. I've never had an affinity for Kevin McCarthy, but my take is I don't think he's going to be Speaker of the House because they've now had, 6 votes. He has not been able to break the logjam. In fact, he lost 1 vote between the second and third round. And I mean, I've heard somebody quote him on CNN saying, we'll do this until June if we have to. Well, the people that just spent a year of their lives trying to get elected went away from other careers because most of them had other careers before they started trying to run for Congress, or people who already were Congress people. They spent a lot of money or they raised a lot of money to get to where they are. They've got 2 years to do the job. They don't want to spend 3 or 6 months litigating whether one guy gets to be the boss or not. And right now, it seems like 202 of the Republican caucus have held steady along with him. But I don't think there's real loyalty there. And that logjam, that's going to break against his favor, in my opinion. I don't know whether it's tomorrow. I don't know whether it's next week. But they're not going 2 weeks or 2 months or 6 months for this guy. Who cares if Kevin McCarthy is the speaker? If he can't get the votes, then somebody else should be the speaker.
When I was reading about it, just seeing that he lost 6 times and that even the amount of votes he's getting is scaling back, I just looked at that and I'm like, no matter how bad you want it, doesn't your ego or your self-esteem tell you maybe this isn't me, maybe this isn't now?
Well, the thing that you may not be aware of, Joe, is that as long as he's been in the House of Representatives, this has been his sole ambition.
And they said everything he's done is gone towards this.
And he tried in 2015 or 2016 to get the position, and he was turned away. It went to Paul Ryan instead. So this is his last chance at this. And he's seeing his political life flash before his eyes. But again, going back to, listen, we're all political nuts. We've probably all been watching the same couple of TV shows over the last couple of days, the same coverage. And they're talking about a lot of different strategies. Maybe they'll change the voting numbers. So they'll lower it to a smaller number of people that you need to vote for you to get the position. But that could throw it to Joaquin Jeffries, the Democratic minority leader, or will be. There's some talk about forming a coalition with Democrats. The problem is all of those are less palatable to the rank and file Republicans than just getting someone else to be their speaker. Steve Scalise or Jim Jordan, if he could be convinced to do it, who would be very competent speakers of the House. And they got to be thinking, why should we share power with the Democrats or take a chance of trying some organizational trick, some rules trick that could throw it to Joaquin Jeffries? Why should we take that chance when we could just elect someone else?
I'll tell you this, the Freedom Caucus Republicans that are holding firm on no Kevin McCarthy actually have some natural allies in the far fringes of the progressive caucus of the Democrats, who did the same thing with Nancy Pelosi when she was running the second time for speaker and held out to get some concessions because they too believe that the speaker had too much power. And one of the reasons Nancy Pelosi is no longer House majority or House minority leader is she agreed with those people that back in 2018, that if they would support her, she would step down from a leadership position after 4 years. And she did that, which was one of the concessions that they wanted. They did not want that consolidation of power. So I'll give it to Jeffries. He's been able to hold together the Democrats this whole time. And, it benefits the Democrats because it makes it look like the Republicans can't get their act together.
Regardless of how they got there, we all know the old saying, if you're going to take a shot at the king, you better kill him, right?
You better not miss, yeah.
These people have taken now 6 shots at the king. They can't make friends with him anymore. Their lives will be miserable as Congress people even if they were to turn around now and give him their votes. He's going to seek revenge for what they did to him. So they have to take him down.
222, not in the House that's divided 222 to 212.
Oh, he can make their lives miserable.
And it's not a good look, though, for the GOP. And it's not a good look for government, I think, period, though.
Now, I was going to change the topic, but since you mentioned that, I'm going to speak to that. Because on CNN today, I was driving, so I had CNN on the radio, so I kept hearing the same things over and over again, which is they would show a split screen with President Biden in Kentucky signing a big bill or promoting the fact that in a recently passed bill, there's legislation for a new bridge that is going to be very important to Kentucky. Mitch McConnell was there. And on TV, they kept saying, contrast this, it's bipartisanship and getting things done versus the chaos that people are seeing on their screens in the House of Representatives. That's what, they're seeing good from President Biden here, and they're seeing chaos in the House of Representatives. I can't speak for Republicans because I'm not a Republican, but I read enough and have spoken to enough of them to think that if a lot of them see it very differently, which is they see the Biden half of the screen and they say, look at Mitch McConnell selling out to Biden, who I can't stand. They see the Republican side of the screen and they say, there are principled individuals who are fighting for what they believe in. Maybe it's going to take them time to get where they're getting, but they're tough. They're standing strong. I voted for those people. That's how I think conservative Republicans see it.
I wish that was true. I truly do. And I do think that some of the individuals who are holding out against Kevin McCarthy are holding out for extremely ideological reasons. But I don't think that the Republican rank and file see that as being heroic. This is not the Alamo. These are not people in the Alamo holding out as they're surrounded by Mexicans who are going to kill them. Okay,
it may be if there's another January 6th.
Yeah. And by the same token, I don't think the majority of Republicans look at Mitch McConnell as a sellout or anything like that. I think that our government has been dysfunctional for so long in so many different ways that it's just 2023 is just like every other year.
Okay. So we should move on. I've let this go on longer.
Can I say one thing about that bridge thing?
Of course.
So because that bridge thing was about 20 miles from my house, and it's northern Kentucky, and it's the Brent Spence Bridge. It's one of the oldest bridges in America, and it's what the Brooklyn Bridge was actually based on. And it actually almost collapsed earlier this year. They've been trying to get funding for that for about 15 years, and they finally got it from the infrastructure, and they got $1.6 billion in federal funding. And we finally got the money to fix that this year. It's huge, but also the most important thing about it was, wait for it, it was bipartisan.
Yes,
that. And that's huge.
Well, it wasn't bipartisan to pass the bill. It was just bipartisan to take credit for it.
You're killing me here. But you're right. And this was something that I remember Rob Portman was trying to get money for that for literally the past 8 years, and he couldn't. And that bill did. It's on I-75. It's one of the most important bridges in the country, at least on this side of the country. And we finally are getting it fixed. It's huge. And when Biden leaves office, that will be a featherstone in his cap. Is that a thing?
No.
A featherstone?
Oddly enough, I agree with Greg on this.
Yeah.
They've been trying to get throughout the entire Trump administration, they were trying to get infrastructure spending bills passed, and it could not get done. There is a lot of things in that bill that my Senator Ted Cruz was fighting for before the Biden administration, but it took getting into the Biden administration before we could get it passed. Because until then, Democrats were not going to pass an infrastructure bill. They weren't going to do it. And Biden got it done with most of the Democrats supporting it and a fair bit of the Republicans supporting it.
And for the record, though, Ted Cruz voted against the infrastructure bill.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah. So, yeah, just to be clear. So, yeah.
So listen, I want to change topics, and I apologize to Joe and to Greg because I know I'm showering John with attention like the prettiest girl at the party.
No, go ahead. He's a guest.
But you are a guest, and you do bring for us a different point of view. I can't let this podcast go by without asking you what you're looking forward to, but where you see things going in the 2024 presidential election. Who you'd be supporting and how you think it's going to play out.
God, I sure hope it's not a Biden-Trump rematch.
Okay.
I think that you probably know, Kevin, from our dealings in open fire politics, that I was not a big fan of Donald Trump, and I supported Joe Biden in the 2020 election, primarily because of my distaste for Donald Trump. But I don't think Joe Biden is, the savior of the Democratic Party either. He was good enough to be better than Trump. I would really like to see someone like Larry Hogan up his name recognition and get the Republican nomination. I would really like to see someone emerge as a effective candidate on the Democratic side, but that's not going to happen unless Joe Biden says he's not running.
Right. That's impossible.
Yeah. And if Joe Biden, you don't know that it's impossible because Lyndon Johnson was going to run all the way up until very, very late in 1968, and he had some health issues. And he backed out of the 68 presidential election, not because he didn't want to be president again, but because he realized I'm about to have other priorities in my life.
No, I think
and
it was
Joe Biden's
because
old
he
enough,
got
that could
embarrassed.
happen to him.
No,
Yeah.
Johnson dropped out because he got embarrassed in New Hampshire by McCarthy, Eugene McCarthy.
Well, I think Johnson dropped out because he got a diagnosis.
Okay. Well, listen, you could be right. He did pass away of a heart attack a few years after he left office.
Where is Rich Rubio when we need him?
Yeah. he's another fella who's been on the show who's a really smart presidential historian.
He literally wrote the book on it.
Yeah.
It would really be nice if Biden was not running and someone like Gavin Newsom attempted a presidential run.
Yeah, no, but I agree with you. I think and we've talked about this on the show in the past. I think it's very likely that Joe Biden will run. If he does, I just don't see a serious challenge to him in the Democratic side. I don't know who would pose it. On the Republican side, I suspect it's going to be maybe not as large a field as they had in 2016, but I think it's going to be at least 8 people running for president. Obviously, Mr. Trump, who, Greg, you said on this show that you did not believe he was going to run for president again.
I don't think he will.
Oh, okay. You think he'll drop out?
No,
okay.
I don't think he'll run. I think he'll talk about it a lot. I mean, technically he is running.
Right.
But I don't think he'll actually come to it. No.
Okay, but I also think, John, you'll probably, I'll throw it to you and let you speak for yourself. I think Greg Abbott is going to throw his hat into the ring. I think, obviously, Ron DeSantis is going to run. I think Asa Hutchinson might very possibly run. And I think that, like you mentioned, Hogan, I think there might be a couple of others as well.
I think Glenn Youngkin from Virginia
possibly, yeah,
will run. Glenn Youngkin is similar to DeSantis, but without the Trump baggage. He's clear. He's really kind of stayed clear from Trump, but yet he's kind of put his fingers like on the CRT stuff without being as, deep into Trump waters. And I think that's where Youngkin has an advantage and yet disadvantage. We'll have to see where we are in 2024. Whether some of these things will still matter.
Okay, so I want to change the subject now and go to an issue that's going to be really divisive amongst us, which is the television show Wednesday. So, I know, John, you've seen it. Greg, have you had a chance to?
Oh yeah, of course. I'm hip with the kids. Sure.
So I'm going to just throw it to you guys. Tell me what your thoughts are on it, whether you liked it, whether you want to see a second season, what you thought of the acting. John, I'll start with you. You told us before the show, so I have an inkling of what you're going to say, but go ahead.
I think it's a marvelous, marvelous adaptation of the character from a TV show that I thought was very mediocre when I was younger. I think Jenna Ortega has recreated the character in a way that is visually and entertaining. She's just so entertaining to watch, her facial expressions and the way that she does it. I don't particularly care for Catherine Zeta-Jones as Morticia. I loved the actor who played Uncle Fester in the one episode he was in.
Fred Armisen?
Fred Armisen, yes.
And I love the character of Enid. That's a very nice balance to Wednesday. I think this is going to be the next Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Wow.
I suspect this is going to be 10 seasons or more.
Wow. Greg, what do you think?
I don't know if there's going to be 6 seasons in a movie, but I think the casting was just incredible. Really well done. Like you said, I think having Christina Ricci as put into the cast was really, really a nice touch. I liked Catherine Zeta-Jones. I'll disagree with that. But besides that, I enjoyed it. I'm trying to think if I have anything negative to say about it. No, I thought it was a lot of fun. Was it the best thing I saw over the break? it was probably top 6.
Just tell us a couple of other titles. I want to stay on Wednesday, but just throw in a couple of other titles.
The same people who did Letterkenny have another one called Shoresy. That one I enjoyed. There's a documentary that just came out called This Place Rules, which is fascinating. I just saw that. It's a very Gen Z look at the Capitol riots. Very Gen Z. I'm trying to think. Those two I really enjoyed, and let's leave it at that. That just came out on HBO.
And Joe, did you get a chance to catch any of Wednesday?
No, I reached a path in the woods and I took the path to the left, which was Dahmer.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
I chose Wednesday.
Okay. So what did you think of Dahmer? I haven't seen that one.
I made it partway into episode 1 and it was a mistake.
It's a cooking show, right?
What's that?
A cooking show, right?
A very different one. Yes. I've been doing research for an interview of my own. So I've been getting into a lot of dark research matter lately. And Dahmer was not the feel good hit I thought it was. So I'm going to watch Wednesday to cheer up after this.
Well, I'm going to be diplomatic and say I'm not going to voice my opinion on the TV show Wednesday because I don't want to be the Matt Gaetz of this conversation. So I will defer to you guys. I will say that I watched it with my son who was visiting and my wife, and they agreed with you. So,
is it worse than the Munsters remake?
Well,
it depends on which one. There were
remake.
2 different Munsters remakes.
I was talking the Rob Zombie one. I really enjoyed it.
I didn't catch it.
There was one with Jerry O'Connell. O'Connell. There was one with him and Rebecca Romaine Stamos, which was excellent. Which that one was excellent and very cool. But the Rob Zombie one I did not see.
Yeah. But I just want to point out, John, that we do agree on a couple of things. I did think that Catherine Zeta-Jones was not great casting. I did think Jenny Ortega did a fantastic job, even though I didn't like the series a whole lot. And there was one other thing that you said that I agreed with, and I can't remember what it is.
I haven't seen it, but I have a feeling I'd like Catherine Zeta-Jones too.
You know, you would
going
think
out on a limb.
you would not in this. I thought actually she and the fella that played Gomez were not that great. But anyways,
Luis Guzman, everything he does is great.
Everything else he does, great.
Everything he does, whether it's Boogie Nights,
he was great in.
Boogie Nights, he's always good.
He's a fine actor.
He's a great actor. He's a class act. I take it if I could invite one person to dinner, it'd probably be Luis Guzman. He'd be great. He'd be a great person to hang out with. So
it used to be Lindsey Graham. Now it's Luis Guzman. They have to start with their initials have to be LG.
Someone sent me a interview of Lindsey Graham from 2015 or 2016. It was 2015, and I was like, this is the Lindsey Graham that I used to adore. That I was like, this is a really like no nonsense, common sense Republican. That he's like, oh yeah, this is the guy that I used to be a huge fan of. Where is that guy now? I was like, oh my goodness, it was only 6 years ago. So.
Okay, well, I'm going to wrap this up because we've gone as long as we intended to. First of all, I want to say, Greg, always a pleasure to have you on. Joe,
thank you.
We didn't talk as much to you tonight, and I apologize for that, but we love having you here. By the way, you wanted to bring up a couple of things that you're working on.
Yes, over on the Working Fans Podcast, we just opened a t-shirt store. It's workingfanspodcast.etsy.com if you're so inclined to support us. But the thing that I'm most proud of right now is this Friday, 1 p.m. on the Working Fans Podcast YouTube channel, we are going to be interviewing Naomi from the Cult in Connecticut podcast. This is about a religious group that she grew up in that turned out to be a cult. And it's also notable because we went to the same high school, graduated the same year, and I had no idea about any of this. I reconnected with her as a podcaster as adults, found out about all this, so we're going to get into it Friday. It's the most serious thing we've covered next to the Royal Rumble.
Okay,
But that's what we got going on.
the real reason that that podcast is important is because Joe finally got a girl from high school to talk to him. So
Red at work is going to pop for that. I'm going to be hearing about that in the warehouse all week. They've been asking me where the more perfect union has been. And I told them, me and Kevin aren't talking right now. Wait till after the New Year's.
And John Frick, it has been a delight having you on. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the invitation.
It's going to be great for our friends, our mutual friends at Open Fire, to finally put a face to your personality, because all of us just debate and text all the time. And John, you got anything coming up or anything you want to plug?
No, I'm just working my behind off, trying to be a good lawyer here in Texas, and we'll see how the new year goes.
There you go. There you go. Well, it's been great. We want to thank everybody for listening. If you like what we do here, please post the link of our show on your Facebook timeline or Instagram or any of those other social media sites that the young people like to go on, and tell your friends to give us a listen. I want to again thank the listener who wrote in a very nice fan letter this week. We'd love to get more of them. Yeah, and Greg Matusak, what is going to be your meal of choice for the 100th roll call vote of the House of Representatives for Speaker of the House?
Well, it's funny because I've been trying to figure out songs, and I've been trying to put this all to music. And so, the best song that I found so far is that old Electric Company song with the pinball machine. So every time he loses a vote, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I've been up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have to make it now go up to probably like 100.
Yeah,
so that's
yeah. The song that I'll be singing is 99 Bottles of Beer on the Wall, but in reverse order.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'll just listen to Ozzy Osbourne's Crazy Train. So.